This is the Holy Game Studio, and this is something that I've been working over a year on, and it used to be this old storage room and chicken den and basically unusable space, and now it's this space where I can fully be myself. I can move around, I can play VR, do oral yoga, record work, play games. It's essentially my little version of paradise, and this is something that I've been working on over the last year, and along the journey I have learned a few lessons, and I kind of broke down 5 of those that can be applied to every project that you're working on and should be adding a ton of value to your life. And if you stick to the end, there's also a bonus tip, which in my opinion is actually the most important one. Number 1, things take longer than you expect them. Because in general, we are hard at predicting the future. It's not generally something within the human skill set. So when you try to estimate the things that come up within a year, and then also try to estimate all the things that can go wrong, it becomes very difficult. And that's why usually things just take longer than you'd expect. So I started working on this whole office back in June 21. And in the beginning, the progress was quite fast. I cleared out all the things, we removed the roof, we essentially got the windows and the doors in, all by like the end of November. And then the winter break hit, and we kind of knew that. And then it was like, oh, okay, so now we can start on the interior. No, not that quickly, because we noticed that the walls were getting wet. So that means there was an issue in terms of the isolation, and we needed to dig up the whole outside wall to put a drainage in, so it doesn't get wet and moldy, which is generally a bad idea for things to happen. And this is just one of the things that kind of needed to be fixed along the way that just takes so much time. So by the time of June, we were still more or less in the same place, interior-wise, as we were in November. And also these little things that you don't really see, but actually make a huge impact, like getting the electricity here, getting like the isolation, buying all the different parts, takes a long time. So generally, things take longer than you'd expect, but this allows you to focus more on the journey instead of the destination. Accountability is key, because if you have someone that you're working with, that you have continuous conversation, that you can bounce ideas off, is so important when trying to work on a project that is like over a year long. Because in general, there are so often these days where you really don't feel like working, and it's cold outside and maybe raining, and you know you have to get this done by the end of the week because there is like another deadline, and you know then you're gonna be in vacation, or you know winter is about to come and then you won't be working. So having this person that keeps you motivated and keeps you accountable is so helpful in actually getting the things done that you want to get done. And I'm so grateful that my dad was this person, not only in terms of holding me accountable, but also giving me advice, helping me out with what needs to be done in terms of the construction. Because generally, I'm more of the IT guy. I can set up like the interior kind of nicely and like program the lights and sync them to music. And this is kind of my expertise. But kind of doing the electricity and then isolation and then kind of putting a ring anchor around, like, I didn't even know what that was. It's essentially the thing around the top that holds the walls together. Like, these are not things that you can think of if you don't have the experience. Ask for help. Because, first of all, things can be a lot more fun if you just work together with people and kind of like get the support there. So for example, I was helping, like I was asking 2 friends of mine when it came to completely removing the roof of the old chicken den. And that was a lot of work because we had all these tiles that needed to be put in this carriage essentially, and then like it was a multi-step process which would have taken a lot longer if it was just me doing that. Or then like a second thing, when a few of like gaming friends from Norway and Britain came over, like we put together like this beam, and this wouldn't have been possible if it was just like 2 people, because this thing is heavy. It's just like these small things, or just like having someone to assemble a couch with, makes it much more fun and engaging than it otherwise would be. So just generally asking for help is something I could have done a lot more, probably, and I will do throughout my journey more, because in general it just makes whatever you're doing more fun if you do it with people that you enjoy spending time with anyways. Buying secondhand. And this is so important, especially when you're working on a budget, because with that you can easily save so much money, because especially like now with COVID, there were so many things that just rose in price almost exponentially, like the prices of wood, the prices of isolation. These were all things that are usually relatively cheap, but now through like an increased demand, because everyone was like home and wanted to do like some home improvement stuff, and in general there were like multiple other factors which I'm not gonna go into, but let's just say like resources were more expensive, especially when you're buying them new. But secondhand, they were much cheaper, because people just want to get rid of that, and you're actually doing them a favor by kind of like taking their garbage and giving them still like little bucks here and there. And it's like one of the best win-win situations, because essentially they are happy that it's not cluttering up their space, and you're happy because you don't have to spend a fortune on isolation. So definitely buying secondhand is one of the things that really helped. And now to the bonus tip, which is to celebrate. Because when you finish such a big project that you've been working over a year on, then you need to celebrate. We so often like reach the things that we wanted, and like a year ago I was like having all these ideas and visions, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all these things, but without this celebration it's just like, okay, what's next? And we don't really get to the point where we can be happy in the moment and being grateful. And I call this kind of this peak experience, because when you're also climbing on a mountain and then you're finally on the peak and you don't enjoy the view but go straight down it, like what's the point on going to the peak? Like you need to enjoy the view, and you need to be present there, and you need to celebrate that you've managed to accomplish this, getting to the top. Cheers. So that's why I tend to put a very strong emphasis on the celebration part, and kind of not only celebrating when I'm at the peak, but also celebrating small milestones along the way. And this really helps me motivated and stay kind of consistent with the things that I want to do. And you also see like these small progress steps along the way. Streaming consistently. So there are 3 different streams that I plan on doing. One is an education stream, which essentially covers 4 different topics. So the education stream will happen every Tuesday, roughly every Tuesday, because sometimes I do go on vacation or sometimes it doesn't work. So I try to make it every Tuesday and rotate around 4 different topics, which are focusing on productivity. There will be a book club, a chess club, and just a general place where we can talk about the areas of life and kind of the things that you should have been learning in school. So this is the education stream on Tuesday with 4 different topics. And then we have the gaming stream, also with 4 different topics on a Thursday though. And this is very similar in that way, that we kind of rotate around these different topics. So there will be a multiplayer game, a single player game, a game that is like in VR, or just general spending time in virtual reality. And then lastly, a D&D session, which is a homebrew of mine, which adapts one of my favorite fantasy stories, and not one of my, the favorite of mine, which is essentially a combination of Avatar: The Last Airbender with some Roman battle strategy mixed in there, and also the concept of kind of capturing your own Pokemon and having that fight along with you, not for you, because it's much more symbiotic relationship when you actually fight with your Pokemon instead of just like, you do all the work for me while I'll chill. So I don't know, that's very appealing for me. It's a D&D homebrew that I'm kind of trying to experiment with, kind of take it to the next level. And then otherwise, the things that I'll also be doing here is recording podcasts, recording videos just like this one, and also just generally enjoying myself, working, playing, and living a more holistic life, because now that I have this space, I don't have to do everything in my bedroom anymore, and I can actually do some exercise here. I have an aerial yoga mat that I just use in order to get my stretches to the next level. And also one of my favorite things is this whole thing is in nature. Like, I walk out of the door and I'm in nature. I'm hearing the birds, I'm hearing, like, I have grass right there. I have like, I can be on the roof within 10 seconds and kind of have this overview perspective. So yeah, super happy and grateful that I'm here. Also continuously celebrating this and taking things to the next level. That's what we're here all about. And I hope you found this productive, meaningful, and entertaining.